I don't care if he fought in a war. If he can't pay, he can sleep on a bench. Those words hit my courtroom like a slap. I was sitting right where I always sit, up on the bench in Providence Municipal Court. My hands were folded. My robe felt heavier than usual, and the man who said it stood there like he owned the air in the room. I'm Judge Frank Caprio, and I've heard people say cold things before. I've heard anger. I've heard fear. I've even heard lies dressed up like truth. But this was pride, plain and sharp. The landlord was 56. His name was Randall Pruitt. He had a silver watch that caught the lights every time he moved his wrist. His hair was slicked back so tight it looked painted on. His suit was dark, expensive, and just a little too shiny. His eyes were the kind that looked past people, not at them, like they were furniture. Across from him stood the defendant, the tenant he wanted out, a veteran named Marcus Velez. Marcus was in his late 30s with shoulders that used to carry heavy packs but now seemed tired. His jacket was clean but worn at the seams. He held his hands together like he was trying to keep them steady. And right then, with that cruel quote still hanging in the air, I knew this case was going to test more than the law. It was going to test what kind of people we choose to be. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, you'll want to see what happens next. The bailiff called out, Case 2026 TR 4187, Providence Municipal Court, Marcus Velez. I looked down at my file. I kept my voice calm, because that is my job. Mr. Velez, good morning. Marcus swallowed. Good morning, Your Honor. He didn't sound like a man trying to get away with something. He sounded like a man who had been carrying a heavy load for a long time and didn't know where to set it down. Tell me why you're here, I said. He took a breath. I'm here because Mr. Pruitt filed for an eviction, and also, he's saying I owe fees, late fees, court fees, and he says I damaged the place. I nodded. And what do you do for work, Mr. Velez? I work nights at a warehouse by the port, he said. I stack pallets. I drive a forklift when they let me. I'm trying to move up. I'm also in physical therapy twice a week. For what? I asked, though I could already see it in his posture. My back, he said, and my knee. Army stuff. It catches up. The courtroom was quiet in the way it gets when people sense a real story is coming. And you're a veteran, I said. Yes, sir, Marcus replied. I did 2 tours. I was infantry. I watched his eyes as he said it, not proud, not begging, just stating it like a fact he lived with. Then Randall Pruitt stepped forward like the floor belonged to him. He didn't wait for me to call him. He just moved. Your Honor, he said, and he put extra sweetness on the words, like sugar on rotten fruit. I'm just a small landlord trying to survive. A few people in the gallery shifted at that. They had seen his watch. They had seen the suit. I lifted one finger slightly. Mr. Pruitt, you will wait until I address you. Understood? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course, I apologize. But his tone said the opposite. I glanced down at the complaint again. Mr. Pruitt, you're the property owner. Yes, he said, I own Pruitt Properties. What kind of properties? I asked. Multi-units, he said quickly. A few buildings. Nothing big. He said nothing big, while his leather briefcase sat on the table like a trophy. I leaned forward. Mr. Velez says you filed eviction plus added fees and claims of damage. We're going to go step by step. Mr. Velez, how did this start? Marcus looked at his hands. I got behind 1 month. I had a short check. My hours got cut for a bit, and I had a co-pay for therapy. I told him I could catch up in 2 weeks. Randall made a short laugh like Marcus had told a joke. 2 weeks. That's what they all say. The gallery made a soft sound, like a sigh rolling through seats. I turned my eyes to Randall. Mr. Pruitt, watch your comments. He lifted his hands. I'm just stating reality, Your Honor. All right, I said. Now we begin. Mr. Pruitt, you may tell me what happened, but keep it respectful. Randall straightened. He didn't pay. He violated the lease. I served notice. He ignored it. Marcus shook his head fast. I didn't ignore it. I called your office 3 times. They didn't call me back. Randall's eyebrows rose. My office is very busy. I held up my palm. We're not doing guesses today. We're doing facts. That's when I saw Marcus reach into his folder. It was an old folder, the kind that bends at the corners. He pulled out a paper, held it like it might tear. Your Honor, Marcus said, I brought everything I have. Good, I said, because the truth likes paperwork. Randall smirked. Or it likes money. That was the first disrespect moment, quick and sharp. I met his eyes. Mr. Pruitt, I'm going to give you one warning. 1. You will not disrespect this court, and you will not mock a man standing here answering questions. Understood? His smile tightened. Understood. The bailiff stood a little straighter. The room settled. Mr. Velez, I said, show me your first piece of evidence. Marcus slid a document forward. It was a money order receipt and a handwritten note on the bottom. He spoke softly but clearly. On the 15th, I paid half, he said. I put it in the drop box like they told me. I wrote my unit number. I kept the receipt. Randall leaned in, glanced at it, and waved his hand. That receipt proves nothing. People fake those all the time. The gallery murmured again, louder. I looked at Randall. Do you have the ledger from your office? Payment records? Randall tapped his briefcase. I have a statement, yes. Produce it, I said. He pulled out a neat printed sheet, crisp as if it came from a printer 5 minutes ago. It showed Marcus owing the full month plus late fees. I compared the dates. I felt my stomach tighten. Mr. Pruitt, your statement shows no partial payment at all, Randall shrugged, because none was made. Marcus's face flushed. That's a lie. I have the receipt. I kept my voice level. Mr. Pruitt, is there a camera on the drop box? Randall blinked once. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Convenient, I said, not as a joke, as a fact. That was confrontation number 1. Minor disrespect, and evidence number 1 was the money order receipt. Now I moved to confrontation number 2. I said, Mr. Velez, you said you called 3 times. Do you have records? Marcus nodded and pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I printed my call log. I don't know if it helps. I took the paper. 3 calls to the same office number, all within 2 days, each lasting over 2 minutes. Then a text message he had sent. He read it out loud, voice cracking just a little. I'm trying to pay. Please call me. I'm a veteran. I don't want trouble. I just need 2 weeks. Randall rolled his eyes so hard it looked like it hurt. He keeps saying veteran like it's a coupon. That line made the room go still again. Not the full silence yet, but close. I stared at him. Mr. Pruitt, I'm going to say this plainly. You don't get to talk about people like that in my courtroom. Randall shifted. Your Honor, I know people. I know the city. I know the housing board. I know... I cut him off. Stop, right now. He blinked. I'm just saying, I'm not the villain here. I have friends in places that matter. This was the authority challenge, the name-dropping, the pressure attempt. He wanted to lean on the idea that I should be careful with him. I felt something cold in my chest. Not fear, not even anger, just a clear, hard line. Mr. Pruitt, I said, the only thing that matters in this room is the truth. Not your friends, not your money, not your watch. His jaw tightened. Fine. Evidence number 2, I said, tapping the call logs and text. Mr. Velez tried to reach you. He documented it. Your office did not respond. Do you deny that these calls were made? Randall shrugged again. He may have called. That doesn't mean we received it. Phones glitch. People call the wrong number. Marcus lifted his head. It's the number on the lease. Randall leaned toward Marcus, voice sharp. You should have tried harder. I saw the bailiff take 1 step forward just in case. I held up a finger. Mr. Pruitt, 1 more time and you will be removed from this courtroom. Understood? He nodded once, quick. Now confrontation number 3 began like a match near gasoline. I said, "Mr. Pruitt, you also claim property damage." Randall's face brightened, like he was happy to switch topics. "Yes, he damaged the unit. Holes in walls, broken door, and he has an unauthorized pet." Marcus's mouth opened. "That's not true." Randall pulled out photos, glossy prints, a cracked door frame, a hole in drywall, a blurry picture of a dog. He laid them down like he was laying down a winning hand. "Evidence," he said proudly. I picked up the photos. "When were these taken?" "Last week," he replied. "By who?" I asked. "My maintenance man," he said. "What is the maintenance man's name?" I asked. Randall paused. "Eddie." "Eddie what?" I said. Randall's eyes flashed. "Do we really need his last name?" "Yes," I said. "We do." He exhaled through his nose. "Eddie Blanche." "Is Eddie here?" I asked. Randall leaned back. "He's working. He's busy fixing things that tenants break." Marcus's hands clenched. "Your Honor, those pictures aren't my apartment." I looked at him. "That's a serious claim, Mr. Velez." "I know," Marcus said, "but I can prove it." He reached into his folder again. This time, he pulled out a small USB drive. Randall laughed. "Oh, what is this? A spy movie?" Marcus looked at me. "I don't have money for lawyers, but I have a cheap door camera. It records inside too when it senses motion. I set it up because I thought someone was coming in when I was at work." Randall's smile slipped a little. I felt the shift. The room felt it too, like a storm pressure change. "You have video?" I asked. "Yes, sir," Marcus said. "From the day his maintenance man came in," Randall snapped. "He can't record my property. That's illegal." I raised my voice just enough to stop him. "Mr. Pruitt, this is not your stage." The clerk helped play the video on the courtroom monitor. The screen showed Marcus's small kitchen, a calendar on the wall, a dented kettle, a simple place. Then the door opened. A man stepped in with keys. He looked around, then pulled out his phone and started filming. He walked straight to the wall, and I watched in disbelief. He pushed a tool into the drywall. Once, twice, a clean hole. Then he went to the doorframe and slammed it hard with his shoulder, cracking it more. After that, he held up his phone, took pictures, and left. The courtroom made a sound like one big gasp. Randall's face turned red, then pale. I looked at the timestamp. It matched the date of the photos. I turned to Randall. "Mr. Pruitt, are you telling me your maintenance man created the damage?" Randall's mouth moved, but no words came out. Then Marcus did something I didn't expect. He pulled out one more thing. It was an envelope, old and soft at the edges, like it had been opened and closed many times. He held it up carefully. "Your Honor, I didn't want to use this, but I think I have to." I leaned forward. "What is it?" Marcus's eyes were wet. "It's a letter. It's old. It's from Mr. Pruitt's father." Randall froze. "No." Marcus looked at the envelope like it weighed 100 pounds. "His dad wrote it to me when I came home from my first tour. I didn't know Mr. Pruitt back then. His dad ran the building, not him." Randall's voice rose. "That's not relevant." I lifted my hand. "We will decide what is relevant. Mr. Velez, read it." Marcus opened it. His voice shook as he began. "Dear Marcus, I heard you served our country. I want you to know you will always have a safe place here. If money is ever tight, you come to me. We will work it out. A home is not just rent, it is dignity. Thank you for your service. Sincerely, Harold Pruitt." The room fell into a deep silence. Not one cough, not one whisper. I looked at Randall. His eyes darted around like he wanted to run. And then, in that quiet, Randall snapped. He couldn't hold it in. Here came the nuclear quote. He slammed his palm on the table and said, loud enough to echo, "My father was a soft fool. His little thank you letter doesn't pay my mortgage, and if this soldier can't afford my unit, he can go be a hero somewhere else." 10 seconds of silence followed, like the courtroom forgot how to breathe. Then the gallery erupted. People shouted. Someone said, "Shame." Another said, "Disgusting." The bailiff barked, "Order." I didn't move right away, but I could feel my face change, not into anger like fire, into something colder, into disappointment, into resolve. I spoke slowly. "Mr. Pruitt, sit down." He stayed standing, breathing hard. I repeated, softer but sharper, "Mr. Pruitt, sit down." He sat. I looked at Marcus. His eyes were down and his jaw was tight, like he was trying not to break apart in public. Then I turned back to Randall and I began the reckoning. "Randall Pruitt," I said, using his full name. "You came into my courtroom wearing a suit that costs more than some people's rent. Randall Pruitt, you came in here with a watch that shines like a signal. Randall Pruitt, you spoke about a human being like he was garbage on the curb." He tried to speak. I raised my hand. "No." I leaned forward. "You said, I don't care if he fought in a war. You said being a veteran is like a coupon. And then you said your father was a soft fool." I tapped the letter gently with my finger. "Do you know what this is?" "This is your father's character on paper. Character means what kind of person you are when no one is clapping for you." Randall stared, lips pressed tight. I asked, "Why would your father write that letter, Randall Pruitt? Why would a man tell a tenant a home is dignity?" Randall muttered, "He was sentimental." "Sentimental," I repeated, "or decent." I pointed to the video still on the screen. "And then we have this. A man with keys walking into a unit, making damage, taking pictures. This isn't a mistake. This is a setup. A setup means a trap. You tried to trap Mr. Velez." Randall shook his head. "That wasn't me. That was Eddie." I nodded once. "You brought Eddie's photos. You used them to push an eviction. You demanded fees. You acted like the law was your personal tool." I paused and let my words land. "Randall Pruitt," I said again, "this court is not a weapon for rich people. It is a place for fairness, and fairness does not bend for your friends, your money, or your ego." I looked at Marcus. "Mr. Velez, you tried to pay. You called. You documented it. You came to court with receipts, call logs, and video. You didn't come here to play games. You came here because you were scared and you wanted to be heard." Then I looked back at Randall. "And you came here to crush him." Randall's voice rose, shaky now. "He's behind on rent." 1 month, I said, "and you didn't work with him. You didn't call him back. You didn't show mercy. Mercy means you choose kindness when you have power." I held up the letter. "Your father wrote, 'A home is dignity.' You answered today, 'He can go be a hero somewhere else.'" I stared at him. "Do you hear yourself?" He swallowed. I asked, "Do you believe only people with perfect wallets deserve a place to sleep?" He said nothing. I asked, "Do you believe service means nothing?" Still nothing. I leaned back and I felt the whole courtroom waiting. I could hear the old radiator clicking. I could hear someone breathing in the second row. Then I said, "Now we talk about consequences." I took a breath. I spoke clearly and in stages, so everyone understood. First, on the eviction. Denied. Mr. Velez will not be removed from his home based on false evidence. Marcus closed his eyes. His shoulders dropped like he had been holding his breath for months. Second, I said, on the claim damages. The video shows the damages were created during an entry by your agent. That makes your claim not just wrong, but reckless. Randall started to protest. I held up my hand. Third, I said, on fees and costs. Mr. Pruitt, you will pay restitution. Restitution means you pay back for harm you caused. I read from my notes. You will pay Mr. Velez $12,500. That covers temporary storage he almost paid for, missed work hours to come to court, and the stress costs tied to your false filing. Stress costs means the real-life damage that doesn't show up on a receipt. Randall's mouth fell open. That's insane. I didn't blink. No, Randall Pruitt. What's insane is faking damage to throw a veteran out on the street. I continued. You will also pay a civil penalty of $7,500 to the City Housing Assistance Fund. That money goes to help families avoid eviction. Randall's hands shook on the table. You can't. I cut him off. I can. Then I moved to the next piece. License, I said. You are a landlord operating multiple properties. You will surrender your rental registration for 6 months. During that time, an independent manager approved by the city will oversee your buildings. Randall stood up. You're destroying my business. The bailiff stepped closer. I stared at Randall. Sit down. He sat, breathing hard. Community service, I said. 200 hours. He scoffed. I kept going. Not random hours. Specific hours. I looked at him. Every Saturday for the next 20 Saturdays, you will report at 8 a.m. to the Providence Veterans Resource Center on Howard Street. Randall snapped. That's not... I raised my voice. You will listen. I continued. You will work under supervision. You will help set up breakfast, clean, and sort donated clothing. You will also sit and hear stories from veterans who are looking for work and housing, not as a boss, not as a landlord, as a person. Randall's face twisted. This is humiliation. I nodded once. Yes, because you tried to humiliate someone else and push him out of his home. Then I added public accountability. Handwritten apology, I said, not typed. Handwritten means your hand moves and your mind follows. You will write a 2-page apology to Mr. Velez. You will also write a 1-page apology to the court for your behavior. Randall whispered, unbelievable. I wasn't done. PSA, I said. A short public service message, 60 seconds, court approved. You will stand in front of a plain wall, look into a camera, and say what you did wrong and what you learned about respect. That video will be shown at 2 local high schools and at the Landlord training program in this city. Now I came to the contempt. Finally, I said, your outburst in court, your attack on a veteran, and your attempt to bully this process, those actions are contempt. Contempt means you acted like the court doesn't matter. Randall stood again, angry. This is a witch hunt. The bailiff moved fast. I saw the handcuffs flash under the lights. I said calmly, Bailiff. The bailiff took Randall's wrists. Randall pulled back once. The metal clicked shut. The whole courtroom watched, silent again, but a different silence now. This silence felt like a lesson. I spoke evenly. Mr. Pruitt, you will spend 3 days in the county jail. You will return here for a review hearing on March 2nd, 2026. At that hearing, we will review proof of payment, proof of service, and your written apologies. Randall's face went stiff, like he couldn't believe the world was not bending for him. Marcus stared, shocked. Not happy, just stunned. As Randall was led away, he shouted over his shoulder, This isn't over. I watched him go. Then I looked at Marcus. Mr. Velez, I said, I want you to hear me. You are not invisible here. His eyes filled. He nodded. I took a smaller breath. Do you have somewhere safe to go tonight? He said, Yes, sir. If I can stay, I can keep working. You can stay, I said. Then the courtroom moved forward in time. Weeks passed. At the review hearing, Randall Pruitt walked in again, but he looked different. The suit was still expensive, but it didn't sit the same on him. His hair wasn't so perfect. His face looked like he had slept on hard thoughts. He handed in proof of payment, full amounts, on time. He handed in time sheets from the Veterans Resource Center, signed, stamped. He handed in his apology letter. I read it quietly. It wasn't poetry. It wasn't magic, but it was real enough. He wrote that he heard stories at the center that kept him awake. He wrote that he met a man who had medals in a shoebox and no bed. He wrote that he understood dignity wasn't a word to throw around. Marcus was there too, still working, still standing straighter. Randall looked at Marcus and said in a low voice, I was wrong. No excuses, no jokes. I looked at Randall. This is the first time you've spoken like a grown man in my courtroom. He nodded. I reduced nothing that day, because consequences matter, but I made one condition clear. Randall Pruitt, I said, you will keep that letter from your father, and you will read it once a month, not as a punishment, as a reminder. He swallowed. Yes, Your Honor. After court, when the room emptied, I stayed for a moment. I looked at the bench, the old wood, the seal on the wall. I thought about how power can make people forget they are human. Some people think justice is only about rules, but I've learned, sitting here day after day, that justice is also about dignity. It's about whether we treat people like they matter, even when they are struggling. Marcus didn't ask for special treatment. He asked for a chance. Randall tried to buy the ending he wanted, but in my courtroom, the truth still has a voice. And the truth, like that old letter, can be stronger than greed.